Good afternoon. This is the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners for October 31st, 2017. I'm Commissioner Bud Blake, the chair of the board this year. I'd like to start off by doing introductions. To my left is Commissioner Gary Edwards. To my right is Commissioner John Hutchings. To his right is Labanita Bomar, clerk of the board. To her right is Robin Campbell, who is the assistant county manager, county manager today. And to her right is Elizabeth Petrus, the deputy prosecuting attorney. With that in mind, I'll ask Commissioner Edwards to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so with that we have to, is there a motion to approve today's agenda?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the agenda for October 31, 2017.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the Tuesday, October 31st, 2017 agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries. And the board meeting minutes for 17 October 2017.
I move to approve the board meeting minutes from October 17, 2017.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the board meeting minutes for October 17, 2017. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries. Today we're grateful to have two presentations. The first one is by the prosecuting attorney John Thunheim. He's going to give us an introduction of, I think, the public records unit, if I have it correct, and some of the people who make up that unit, and I'll let him tell us about the story on it.
Great. Thank you, Commissioners. I appreciate an opportunity to take just a few minutes of your time this afternoon to talk about a new program that we've started in our office. That's the result of a decision that you made a while ago to take a fresh look at public records and how we do public records in this in county government. I'm pleased to introduce to you today a deputy prosecutor who's now dedicated to public records issues in our civil division, Karen Horowitz, and a paralegal whose primary function is to work with public records officers throughout the county and also help in processing public records himself, Michael Fulmer. I'm going to just do a very quick background for the audience so they know how we came to be here. And then I'm going to ask Karen to step up and just tell you a little bit about what their unit's been up to the last 2 or 3 months that they've been in existence. Some time ago, I came to the board and expressed concern in terms of the growing number of public records requests that we were processing all over the county. And the concern that I had was that every department was kind of handling the records, their own requests, their own way, which, from my view, was creating peril, if you will, for the county, because different kinds of requests were getting handled differently, and lo and behold, sometimes similar requests made to different offices were getting different responses, and that's a significant issue for the county when we're responding to public records requests. I was also concerned with just the sheer volume of requests and also the sheer volume of records that were being requested. For instance, in our office, we had one request that requested every file involving a sex offense in the history of the office. And so we had to go back many, many, many years to process that request and produce literally thousands of pages of records for that requester. And then, of course, there's also the risk of those who might try to use the Public Records Act to harass government or to retaliate against some kind of action that county government had taken. And those require some pretty skilled involvement from a lawyer to make sure that we're abiding by the law, but at the same time properly defending the county against those kinds of abuses. So the proposal was to create a unit. A lawyer who would specialize in this area, be available to handle legal questions and also do training throughout the county, and really try to give us subject matter expertise, if you will, in county government around this. And then also to add a paralegal to help with all of the volume of records and processing and so forth. and to be a central unit for requests to come in and also to be able to go out, so that we could make sure that every department was being consistent in how they answered requests, and that we didn't get ourselves in the situation of different departments responding to the same request differently. Thus, the unit was created, and I thank you for the support in doing that. And I just wanted to come here today and show you that, in fact, we've now taken theory to practice. We have the unit up and running, and I'd ask Karen to just say a few words about what's been happening in the meantime.
I just want to ask the prosecutor, could you explain, for those folks that might not understand this, about the penalties that could be incurred by any government entity that has a request for records, and maybe an extensive request like
Yes.
the one you just explained, and how the law requires that we expend valuable resources to meet that request?
Yes, I'd be happy to do that. So the law actually does provide for significant penalties to government should they fail to comply or reply in error. And it's really kind of a strict liability statute, meaning it doesn't really matter whether you intended to make a mistake or not. If the mistake was made as a government entity, you're on the hook for it. And it involves potential penalties for what could be every page, depending on the type of request, every page in which there's an error, or every page which was unlawfully withheld if it was withheld for some reason. It requires very meticulous log keeping, and if then that log is in error, that could result in penalties. But even more yet, what we find is that the law also provides for attorney's fees for a requester. So if they file litigation against the county and we go to court and we spend time in court and they prevail, the county's on the hook for all of their attorney's fees. And that actually can add up to be a bigger bill than the fine itself. And then the final thing that I'll tell you about this that I think it's important for the public to know is that's uninsured risk. Our risk pool or our insurance does not cover public records issues. So if we were to be on the hook for a public records issue, that would be an expense that we would pay out of our general fund instead of just having an insurance claim. That's why I was so concerned about this issue. Thank you for the question. So if I could just have a couple more minutes, and I'll ask Karen to give you the update.
I want to hear from Karen.
Well, thank you all. Thank you for giving us the chance to come and talk to you about our public records unit. Obviously, records management, transparency, being responsive to requesters, those are all things that are a really important part of county business, and I really appreciate that this board has recognized that in developing this unit. Just some sense of the scope of what we're talking about. So this past month, October of 2017, county responded to roughly 300 public records requests that came into the county just in that month alone. And then not including the time that Michael and I spend as full-time employees of the public records unit, county staff logged over 180 hours of staff time in October that they spent responding to public records requests. And that number probably underreports truly what the total is, but that's time that people were able to actually affirmatively log as time they spent working on it. Just a little bit. So as our unit is getting up and running, we have been able to offer more assistance to county offices and departments in sort of coordinating and responding to records requests. We have a monthly meeting with all of the county's public records coordinators to provide training to them, provide any legal updates, anything new case law or legislation that's happened, to give them any assistance, answer any questions they have about records requests. We also meet regularly with individual departments, public records coordinators, any departments that want some more one-on-one assistance from us. We provide that as well. But I think one of the biggest accomplishments that our unit has had in the short time that we've been in existence is that on September 21st, we were able to take over as the public records unit doing all of the intake duties for public records requests that come into the county. So that includes sending the initial letter to the request, making sure that we're logging it to be in compliance with new legislation that came into effect in July, making sure that the request is getting to every appropriate county office and department so that they're able to gather records. And once those records are gathered, we facilitate producing them to the requester or any additional correspondence that needs to take place. And processing them in this way really does, I think, assist requesters. It gives them a single point of contact when they're working with the county. It allows them a more effective, more efficient method of getting the records that they want. And then it also does help ensure that we're complying fully with the public records law. So I think I'm very proud of what our unit has accomplished so far. I have great hopes for what we'll continue to do in the future. And again, just thank you for recognizing the need for this unit. Thank you for letting us update you today. And if you have any other questions, I know we're all happy to answer them.
That's fine. Oh, no, speak. I'll wait.
Did you want to say something, sir?
You do now.
Yeah. Just pull the mic up a little bit.
So my name is Michael Fulmer. I'm the paralegal for the Public Disclosure Unit. I handle the bulk of the entry of the request and sending at the 5-day letter. So all of that general processing that Karen was speaking about is what comes through my desk. I manage the TCPRA account, which is it's a TCPRA, which is our county public disclosures email account, which is the primary intake for all requests. So anything that is sent electronically will come through that account, and any county department that receives a paper request ultimately forwards it to that account as well. And so that is, I guess, what the large chunk of my, I guess, day-to-day duties are. I also help with questions that other county public records coordinators have, and assist Karen with anything else that she needs.
This is, Mr. Thunheim, this is an excellent example of excellent policy from the standpoint of, like Michael was just saying, that you go onto the county website and you go to TCPRA, and that takes the public right to the link to order request for records, rather than go to different departments and try to find it. It's a great way to serve the public easier and more efficiently. And records exist in so many different forms of media, besides handwritten the old way, and typed, and then email and texting and voice messages from phones and video and on and on. And to have so many different people in different departments doing that and not up to speed, as Karen was saying, with the updates and the legal updates and knowing the law, by having you folks do this, protects the city and guards us against great liability, as you were saying, got a penalty for failing to perform in a timely fashion. So this is excellent. I'm so glad we're doing this. Thank you very much for what you're doing.
I think Commissioner Hutchins covered everything for me.
Oh, he did?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I have a personal note, and Mr. Thunheim can verify this. I have been waiting to see y'all for the last 2.5 years to make this happen. We've been etching it out on paper and concept, and so I am so grateful to have you here, both in terms of the team and what you're going to do is such a small team, but oh my God, it has an impact across the entire county in terms of cost savings and everything that's been said already. So I do have one question and request. If you can come back, I have to get Mr. Thunheim's permission to come back in 5-6 months and throw a chart up there to show some of the numbers of what you do so that we can see what's been going on. I'm sure there's already a large amount of work going on now, but just kind of capture that coming out of the gate, so to speak, so we can kind of track along what we're looking at over time.
We'd be happy to do that, absolutely.
Yeah, sure, that's great. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I might add.
Yes, sure, add.
The intent behind the public records law is to promote transparency, and transparency promotes accountability.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for streamlining it for everybody.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Come on back now.
Thank you.
You bet. Okay, so we have another presentation, and we're going to hear from the Public Works Director, Jennifer Walker. She's going to tell us a little bit about Chris Ashag, right? Yeah, and he is the winner of the 2017 National APWA Equipment Rodeo Competition.
Yes, thank
Yes,
you.
go ahead.
So it is my honor to recognize Chris Ashe, a senior maintenance technician in our road operations division, for his win. Chris and his partner, Matt Money from Lewis County, actually are the first Washington State winners of the competition in the last 26 years, or 26 history of the competition. So Chris qualified for the national event, which is in Loveland, Colorado, in Spokane in 2016. And the rodeo competition is designed to test the speed, accuracy, agility, and reaction time of heavy equipment operators through a series of obstacle courses. So there's 5 pieces of equipment that they get tested on. The grader, which levels soil in preparation for construction. The skid steer, which can move soil quickly in small areas. The loader, which moves larger quantities of construction materials. A 2-axle truck, which has 1 set of back tires to haul materials, and then a 3-axle truck, which has 2 sets of back tires to haul materials. So in addition to those 5 pieces or 5 events, they also get tested on their preliminary safety and diagnostic inspection. So Chris's winnings were a jacket and a personally engraved, a hand-engraved silver plaque and silver belt buckle. So if you would join me in congratulating Chris. I did promise him he wouldn't have to give a speech, but...
Seconds, we love you to death. Come on.
I brought the plaque that I
There you
won. Figure I pass it around, let everybody look at it. But I think we're going to try to find a place in the office out at Tilly to hang this, so it'll be there.
Just kind of turn it and show it up to the camera just a second there. Oh, yeah. Okay, great. And so don't move. We got questions for you. We're going to make you talk a little bit.
I had the opportunity to go down and go through the course, one of the obstacle courses, and it was a large truck with a snowplow on it. And I'm telling you, it's an eye-opener for, and I thought I knew a little bit, about equipment or something.
A little bit.
It is amazing what these people are capable of, Chris. And I just want to compliment you on being able to win a national level competition like that. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Yes, I'll tell you what, this last summer I also went on a test ride down at Public Works, and it was amazing how these drivers were handling those big giant trucks. And I thought I was pretty cool driving a cop car, like you see in the car commercials. They're splashing through and going through curves and up and down around and spinning around in high-speed pursuit with a cup of coffee. And they're so skilled. I was so impressed at how they get these big doggone trucks that you can't even see over the edge and over the fenders. And they're missing cones and backing up, and the skill level is impressive. So good for you.
Thank you.
How do you do it?
Yeah.
A lot of years of practice.
Say that again?
Lots of years of practice.
Okay, so it didn't start just this year or last year, and
No,
so here I think of you as Russell Wilson of Thurston County Public Works. Okay, so walk us what you do as far as throwing us down range and making success in the end zone with this kind of award. How do you do it? I know it's speechless, huh?
well, I mean, we've been doing it. We've been having a competition out at Tilly during Public Works Week each May for the last 3 or 4 years. The top 4 from there have been qualifying to go to the state competition, which is in a different location each year, and from there they take the winners of each event to go to the national competition. So within a year you get to practice 2 times to make it to the national competition. So it's a fun time. It's one of the largest benefits, I think, is getting to go to these and meeting people from other counties, cities, public works groups, and just I've made friends that I call up still and, hey, we're dealing with this at work. What do you guys do? And they're dealing with the same stuff. So the networking part of it, I think, is just as valuable as the rodeo.
You gotta be
Is there
excited.
any chance we can get a picture with Chris possibly up here with his
I
plaque?
bet so.
I think we can do that.
We can just take this
Where's
down
my
here.
PIO?
He's right in front.
Oh, really?
He's waiting
Okay.
for it.
Okay, just click this off.
I'm good. That's-
Okay, you want to carry it like that? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Come on,
You want this with or without the glasses?
We got a picture in the middle. Stand right there. Gary's going to come one way or the other. Jennifer, you're over there.
Gee, I don't understand.
Where do you want me
Right,
to stand?
right,
Oh, yes.
Okay, good enough. There we go.
Sorry, I'm eating balls. Big smile. Ryan. Whatever in your neck.
2, 3. All right, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
That's great. That is great.
Good job. Thank you. All right. All right, we're back at business. So that is the conclusion of our presentation portion of the agenda. So next, I'd like to open it up for the opportunity for the public to address the board. And so how the house rules are is on your right is the clock, and it starts at 3 minutes. It counts down to 0. And when it gets to 0, you hear this kind of sound, like a microwave done sound. But if you're in mid-thought, midstream, I'm not going to shut you off or anything, but I'll start asking you to kind of bring some conclusion to it. So when I call your name, and I do it first come, first serve, just come up to the podium, give your name, and generally where you're at in the county, and then we'll get you going there. So the first person I have is Mr. Doug Carmen. Hello, sir. How you doing there?
I'm doing well. Again, I'm Doug Carmen.
Yeah.
I reside at 4108 Cairo Road, southeast in the, I guess Lacey, but it's in the county.
Yeah.
When I was here last on your October 17th, I think it was your last meeting, I represented I was as president of the Long Lake Management District Steering Committee and spoke to you from that perspective. Today, in addition to being the president of the Long Lake Management District Steering Committee, I'm also the vice chair now of a new group, which is the Thurston County SMP Stakeholders Committee.
Uh-oh.
And that committee is made up of representatives from Boston Harbor, let me get it so I get them all, Lake Lawrence, Black Lake, Summit Lake, and the Squally River property owners. So we're trying to get a wide base of all the different shorelines that would be impacted by the SMP. My topic last time was encouraging you to give the stakeholders a position at the table for discussing the various issues. Since we actually live on the shoreline, we know how it works, and many of us have spent years and years working on the technology of maintaining that shoreline. That evening, the 17th, was the first public meetings put on by the Department of Planning Department relative to the shoreline management master program. And at that meeting, they gave us a presentation on the SMP, and had a period for discussion. There was a lot of very good discussion. It was a very interesting meeting in the sense that, unlike a lot of meetings like that, it wasn't a crazy meeting with people screaming and yelling and whatnot. They were all very intelligent questions. But one of the things that was presented again was the flow chart as to how this is going to go through the system. And you have the planning commissioners will get input from the community meetings, which like we had on the 17th, and then from the STAG, which is the Shoreline Technical Advisory Group, I guess. It's made up of government agencies, and then what they call it, specific interest group. But there were dashed lines from every group except the specific interest groups, and so I stood up and asked, what is this group? And they said, well, that's the stakeholders, that's you. And I said, well, fine, but there's no dotted lines, you're just going to meet with us individually and ask questions and whatnot, and they hadn't really decided that yet. So since I'm getting close, I'll go to the conclusion. So what we're asking is that you support having members of the stakeholder group assigned to the STAG,
Okay.
so that there is good input from all avenues. Either three, one from saltwater, one from lakes, and one from river, or two, or one. Just get somebody on there to create a balance.
I got you.
Thank you very much.
And just for the record, SMP stands for?
Shoreline Master Program.
Okay, just one minute. Okay, good.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, I see Mr. Chavez is in here.
Yeah, you give it to her.
Robin's
Ms.
running
Campbell.
the
Yeah,
show.
sure, yeah, sure. Thank you so much, sir. Okay, so next I have Daryl Hirschkorn, a.k.a. Hershey Hirschkorn. Hello, Hershey. How you doing? Good. Pull the mic down just a tad for me, Hershey. Pull the mic down just a tad. There you go. All right.
Get it to the right height.
Yep, you have the floor. Go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Daryl Hirschkorn. Most people know me as Hershey. I've lived at Scott Lake for 39 years. I am the Vice President of the Scott Lake Board of Trustees, President of the Scott Lake Men's Club. I'm also a Commissioner for Scott Lake Drainage District Number 11. I hope you've had time to review the packets you received. We have almost 600 homes in Scott Lake, and many use the lake and park, and especially the swimming area. We come to you today with a very serious and dangerous problem, allowing jet skis and wave runners known as personal watercraft to use Scott Lake. Scott Lake is only 69 acres with an average depth of 11 feet. Due to the small size of the lake and the erratic way that personal watercraft are ridden, serious injury or death is almost certain to happen. The problem has become even more dangerous since a jet ski club is using the lake for practice and races. The jet skis, with at times over a dozen riders, will set up a race course with multiple buoys and take over the lake, blocking the waterway for fishermen and others using the lake. At very high speeds, they come very close to the shore, docks, and other vessels, and especially the swim area. The law is 200 feet from the shore and swim area and 100 feet from other vessels when operating over 5 miles an hour. The riders have a history of passing much closer, endangering boaters, fishermen, and even residents on their docks. At times when the police have been involved, there's been a misunderstanding that Scott Lake is a private lake. It is listed as such under 1604110 Thurston County Boating Regulations. In actuality, Scott Lake is a Thurston County lake with a private access and should not be listed as a private lake. Besides the obvious danger, the noise created by the jet skis is far above the levels allowed in Thurston County, becoming a health issue for residents and park users. Can you imagine what a dozen chainsaws sound like at full throttle? In addition to the danger, the environmental damage is extreme. According to the reports included in your packets, a dozen jet skis will exhaust as much as 40 gallons of unburned gas and oil into that little lake in a day. If motorized personal watercraft are continued to be allowed on Scott Lake, it's almost certain loss of life or serious injury will occur. We ask that the county take action by banning personal watercraft, jet skis, and wave runners on Scott Lake before tragedy happens, with significant fines and strict enforcement. A total ban of all motorized personal watercraft would be the easiest to enforce and for all involved to understand. There are many larger lakes where personal watercraft are allowed in Thurston County. Scott Lake just isn't big enough for that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Wow. Perfect. Oh, my God. Can I ask you if you would be willing to give the transcript to Robin?
Yes.
Sure. Thank you. Okay, so the next person I have is Betty Weiss, or Weiss? Weiss? Okay, great. Come on up, ma'am. There you go. And, yep, you got the mic just right. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
I'm going to try for the 3 minutes.
All right, let's do it.
So, good afternoon to all of you. My name is Betty Weiss, and I live on Scott Lake. Scott Lake, as we've mentioned, is very small and shallow, especially compared to the other lakes that have the same rules of use that we do. Consider Black Lake. There's 573 acres and 53 to 100 feet deep compared to our 11 to 12 feet deep. Our smaller size means that we're more susceptible to damage than larger and deeper lakes. The internet is full of examples of rules and regulations that protect specific lakes. Rules are established by anything from lake associations, city and county, state, and state and federal parks. This is what we need. In the past, we all thought that Scott Lake was owned by the community residents, but we found out it wasn't true. It's a Thurston County lake, and we're asking you for your help. Scott Lake community consists of 586 households and about 1,500 residents. As a lake community, we assume that everybody uses the lake in some capacity. What's happening is that what's fun for a handful of residents and one resident's large jet ski club is that they're ruining the safe use and enjoyment for the rest of us. The permanent environmental impact, especially on such a small body of water, is what I'm here to discuss. Not only the human residents, but also the fish, birds, and wildlife. The first concern is the fuel discharged by the personal watercraft engines. At 25 to 30% of the gas and oil mix failing to combust, it's flushed directly into the water. At that rate, it means that for every 4 gallons of fuel, at least 1 is dumped directly into the lake. That's 1 personal watercraft for 1 hour. Please consider that we have up to 14 personal watercraft from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. on just one day, and all at full throttle. When the fuel's leaked into the water, it's absorbed by tiny organisms. They become light sensitive, and the daylight kills them. It's called phototoxicity. This causes the beginning of a breakdown of the lake's food chain as its primary food source is eliminated. And it kind of means the lake's going to die. Other water quality issues can be linked to additives found in the gasoline itself. And according to National Park Service, there are over 100 different chemicals that are formed during the incomplete burning of gas and oil. These have been found to affect the skin, liver, and the immune systems. Jet ski noise levels registers in the 85 to 102 decibel range. The American Hospital Association recommends using hearing protection for anything over 85 decibels. Studies show that these high levels not only negatively, whoops, can I keep going?
Yeah, finish your thoughts.
Not only negatively affect humans, but they also birds and wildlife. The noise is also shown to be exaggerated underwater by up to 400%. I hope that you've had a chance to listen to the DVD or CD that we added to the pack. Unruled use of personal watercraft near the lake's shore changes the environment with its unnatural waves, erosions, and settlement. The perpetual pounding of the shore is what causes the damage. I've personally seen a decline in fish eggs and fish fry, as well as the buildup of sediment in Allen Creek, the only water that flows out of Scott Lake, reducing its necessary drainage. The edge of the lake never clears like it used to. It's murky and smelly. We've also noticed more invasive grasses than there used to be, even in Allen Creek, which is a brand new problem. I've lived on the lake for 14 years.
Do you have one more page?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
One more in this much.
Okay.
But it's really big writing.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I've lived on the lake for 14 years. My joy is in watching the life on, in, and around the lake. Over the last 2 years, I've watched things change. I used to see fish jumping perpetually, and now the jumps are few and far between. I don't see baby fish or globules of bass eggs along what used to be a protected shore. Our resident eagle family rarely visits. I used to see them multiple times a day, fishing, teaching their kids to fly and maneuver in the air. I think they found another more robust and safer place to hang out. There are less ducks, less waterfowl. I've watched skis and wave runners run directly into the ducks and separating young from the parents, and with disastrous effects. Residents cancel celebrations in the yards and at lakeside parks. Kids stop swimming. Canoes, fishermen, all the small boats disappear. The personal watercraft basically hold our lake hostage, and we're asking for your help.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Betty. You bet. Great. I'd love to hear your words. Next, I have Mr. Dave Peeler. Hello, Dave. How you doing there?
Good.
It's good to see you. Yeah, you can pull the mic up. Okay, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. And thank you for allowing us to be here this afternoon. My name is Dave Peeler. I'm the president of the board of directors of the Scott Lake Maintenance Company. and have lived there now for several years. And I'm just going to kind of backstop here with the concerns we have around the jet skis on Scott Lake. We have a lot of safety concerns, as you've already heard, around potential accidents and impacts on other lake users due to the high speeds, the racing, the nearshore use, unsafe behavior, which we've documented, and the lack of following and enforcement of basic rules by the riders. These things are fast. They can go 40, 50 miles an hour on our little lake, and at that speed, it'll take them only a few seconds to cross the entire lake. If you look at a map that I drew there showing the 200-foot sort of boundary along the shoreline, there's only about 40 acres or about 1,500-foot radius left within that for them to race, which is a very, very small area in there. And we will see, as you've heard, up to a dozen or more people racing those around at the same time. There also, you've heard about the unburned fuel, and this is a lake that has salmon in it. Salmon come up Allen Creek, go through our lake and up to Millisylvania Park at Deep Lake. And they are definitely at risk due to all the toxicity from the unburned fuel that gets into the lake. We also have trout, bass, catfish, and other fish species, as well as other wildlife. And you've heard that the waterfowl are chased away by the high-speed craft. They also produce the waves which erode the shoreline. But one of our main concerns you've heard a little bit about is when the jet skiers are active there, they will drive every other use, not only off the lake, but out of the parks, out of the waterfront home areas, everywhere, because it is just so noisy to be out there when that's happening. If you can imagine, I grew up in Seattle. I used to go to hydroplane races on Lake Washington, which is a huge lake. That's about what it sounds like on our little lake when that's going on. They set out a buoy course. They take over the entire lake. As far as people on the lake just can't do it because it's just not safe to be out there when that's happening. The noise level is incredible. You just have to hear it to be able to believe it. They will drive people from our park, so we really can't use the park when that's going on. And it usually happens regularly on holiday weekends, which of course is the same time when our residents want to use our park facilities and their own waterfront facilities. There appears to be no permit program or any regulation of these dangerous races and high-speed use by the jet skiers or by any government agency. And I think those actually might be required by the current county ordinance, but it's a little bit vague on that score. We do think the county ordinance could be updated. As we mentioned, it contains an error, at least one, relating to our lake as being a private lake, which it's not. We think these are serious and significant issues that could use some attention by the county, and we stand ready to assist the county commissioners and your staff in reviewing them, evaluating some alternatives, and recommending some solutions. But we urge the board to adopt an emergency closure of the lake until a permanent solution can be found. Thank you for your time, patience, and support.
Sure. And can I get your transcript?
Yeah, I sure can.
And can I get Ms. Weiss's also? Ms. Betty's, sorry. Okay, so the next person I have is Meredith Rafferty. Yeah, how you doing there? Hello, Meredith.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Meredith Rafferty. I'm at 618 77th Avenue Northeast in Olympia, and that is in the Boston Harbor community. I've been a resident out there for 30 years. I'm here today representing the Boston Harbor Association. We have about 600 members and numerous residences, and we wanted to reinforce the request of Doug, Carmen, and the lakes regarding having residents have a say in the planning. Your planning commission is now starting an update of the shoreline management plan, and those regulations govern our daily lives as homeowners because we are managing our properties under those regulations for the greater good of saltwater and freshwater and wetlands in this Thurston County. So we join with probably thousands of other existing homeowners across the county if they are within 200 feet of a wetland or river or a lake. These regulations are absolutely vital to them. So we are very concerned about what changes might be coming and how we can continue to be supportive in carrying out this greater public benefit for us all. So we'd like to be included in the stakeholders group as a representative voice of residential property owners. Thank you.
Okay, so that exhausts my list for those who came first come. Anybody on the list that changed their mind or would like to raise their hand in the audience and come forward?
Bill, you, I think you wanted to.
And sir, if you can just your first name, last name, and generally where you're at in the county.
My name is Bill Mumont. I live in Rochester, and actually I don't have any complaint to make. What I would like to say is to the county commissioners, those of us in South County are very pleased with the road repairs and the road improvements that have been made in South County this year. So I don't know where you got all the money, but we like it very much.
Well, that's unusual. Thank you.
Time.
Okay, is there anybody else in the audience who would like to come to the podium and address the board? No one? I see nobody. Okay, so we'll move on to the other part of the agenda, which is number 2, the county manager's update. And I'm going to turn to Robin Campbell to give us an update, and then I have a note also.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have 2 things to report today. First, I'd like to give a reminder that property taxes are due today. So if you haven't paid them yet, please don't forget to do that. Second is to let you know that Forbes has named Olympia, the city of Olympia, as number 32. That's part of the top 100 of the best places for business and careers in the nation. And some of the factors include that we have strong employment and job growth, education, and quality of life in our area. And I think that that is an indicator that the county is making progress in moving toward our vision of having a vibrant community. And we also just got news that our Thurston County unemployment rate is at 4.5%, which may be an all-time low. So the economy is doing pretty well. And that's my update for today.
And did you say which was the number 1 city?
The number 1 city is Portland, Oregon, and number 3 is Seattle. So we're right in the middle of the top. Olympia, yep, we're right up there.
Excellent, that's good news.
Any other comments for Robin?
Thank you.
Sure, and I have one comment to make, that on November 7th, we will not be having the Board of County Commissioners meeting, as you know it here today, as you see it today. We will have the agenda setting later in the afternoon, and we will be having the public hearing at 2 o'clock at scheduled for that day. And I'll try to say that again before we get off the air. So the next item I have is the consent items, and so I'll ask the board if there's a motion to approve the consent items.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve consent items A through I.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent items A through I. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries. So our first department item is Department from Public Health and Social Services. And I think Mr. Chris Hawkins, are you coming up here to tell us a little bit about the subcontract for regional tobacco and vaping prevention?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Chris Hawkins, the Community Engagement Evidence and Partnerships Manager with Thurston County Public Health and Social Services. And I'm here to represent an important issue that we're working on in the community, which is tobacco prevention, and seeking your approval of subcontracts related to this project. So I wanted to just make a couple quick remarks about our tobacco prevention and control efforts. Tobacco use is something that is a leading cause of preventable deaths across the United States. And in Washington, it's responsible for 1 in 5 deaths that occur in our state. In Thurston County, we have a rate of tobacco use that's higher than the state rate, about 1 in 6 adults here in Thurston County. The poisons that are contained in tobacco smoke lead to many diseases. It accounts for 80 to 90% of all lung cancer deaths, and that is the most common form of cancer death. But it also drives many other cancers. The poisons in tobacco smoke are responsible for weakening our immune systems, as well as interfering with our cells and damaging them. And that contributes to not only those cancers, but also heart disease and a number of other illnesses. This happens through exposure to secondhand smoke as well as to tobacco use itself. And that's why in this effort, we're also focused on preventing vaping or the use of e-cigarettes, which is not just exposing people to water vapor as is often claimed. This project I'm here about today is one where we're trying to prevent the harmful effects of tobacco use and vaping emissions across the 7-county region of accountable community health called the Cascade Pacific Action Alliance. This includes Grays Harbor, Lewis, Mason, Pacific, Wahkiakum, and our own county, as well as Cowlitz. I think I forgot that one. So that's who we're seeking to do subcontracts with to help us carry out some key goals related to tobacco prevention and control. So these are evidence-based practices that we're engaging these other counties to do across the region, one of which is eliminating exposures to secondhand smoke and vaping emissions. Another is to reduce the use and starting of use by youth and young adults in our region. And the third main area is to work on promoting cessation, but we will also be working to look at tobacco use-related disparities in the region. So we're excited to be able to enhance the efforts that we make on tobacco prevention and control and then extend that out across those other 6 counties along with our partner health departments in the region, and that's why we're subcontracting with them and seeking your approval for those subcontracts today. Thank you.
Any questions of Chris?
No.
No?
Not a question, but a comment, and that is, well, a question. I heard a few weeks ago that we are going to hear on radio public service announcements or PSAs from the tobacco industry advising everybody that's listening that tobacco products will kill you. And it's not so much because they give a flip about us, but that's as part of a settlement of a lawsuit, and they have to come out and tell everybody the truth.
Correct.
Do you know when that's going to start?
I don't know the exact date on that, but I think it is imminent that these ads will begin to show up.
I am waiting to hear. It's about since about 26, 27 years ago, yes. I've been teaching prevention, tobacco, alcohol, and drug to 5th graders and 8th graders. And so here we are again today. And now with the vaping and such, it's a new danger that we're just learning quite a bit more about. So I support this, Chris. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, sure. I have no questions, so I ask the board if there's a motion.
Yes, I move to approve contracts with the counties of Lewis, Mason, Cowlitz, Grays Harbor, Pacific, and Wahkiakum to conduct tobacco and vapor product prevention activities in each county for the duration of September 1, 2017 to June 30, 2018 for a total maximum contract amount of $4,000 per contract, and authorize the Director of Public Health and Social Services to sign the contracts.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded as stated. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, and so the motion carries, Chris. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much.
So the next item we have is 4B, and then it's Mr. Gary Aiden. He's going to talk to us a little bit about the public hearing, setting a public hearing for Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, otherwise known as CAPER. Yes, how you doing, Gary?
Very good. Gary Aiden, Public Health and Social Services. This item today is about the CAPER report, as you mentioned. That's Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report. It's required by HUD, and it reports on the program year, for us, program year 16, which is beginning September 1 of 2016, ends August 31 of 2017. And at the public hearing, we talk about the funds that have been expended during the last year and seek public comment. And then we turn that report into HUD by November 31st.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Aiden?
No, thank you.
No, sir.
No. And highly encourage anybody to come
Yes, sir.
testify, right? And so that would be on November 21st, 2017.
Yes, sir.
At 3 p.m. Okay, is there a motion to set the public hearing?
I move to set a public hearing for November 21, 2017 at 3 p.m. or soon thereafter as the matter may be heard at the Thurston County Courthouse, Building 1 in Room 280 to receive public comments on the FY 2016 HUD Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded as stated. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, and that motion carries.
Thank you.
You bet, sir. So next, I'm going to turn to the number 5 item, which is the commissioners and county managers items, and I'm going to ask Robin Campbell to speak a little bit about the public hearing on revenue sources for fiscal year 2018 budget.
Thank you, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Robin Campbell. I'm the Assistant County Manager. And this afternoon, I am asking that you set a public hearing on Tuesday, November 21st, also at 3 o'clock that afternoon or shortly thereafter, to take public comment on revenue that will support the 2017 and 2018 budget and revenue changes that are proposed for 2018 fiscal year. The public hearing will include an overview of all revenue sources for our major funds, and revenue changes that are being considered by the board include a 1% increase in the property tax levy, a levy shift from the road fund to the general fund, and increases in utility fees. State law requires the public hearing, particularly on the property tax and action on the property tax by the end of November. So the notice will be posted in the Olympian, the Nisqually Valley News, and on our county website, which is www.thurstoncountywa.gov. And the public can also contact either Romero or I for information, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions for Ms. Campbell?
I guess, could you elaborate just a bit on the law and the requirement that you can only add 1% on property tax, but the reality of what the cost of doing business might be, cost of living increases and such?
Yes, so as you said, the law limits the Board of County Commissioners to increasing property tax levy to a maximum of 1%. And you are considering taking that action because even though there would be an increase in the property tax, and that generates approximately $350,000, the cost of doing business in Thurston County is rising by anywhere from 3 to 5% per year. And one example is our medical inflation, which this year is at 5% increase. That alone costs the county more than $350,000. So our costs are going up at a rate much greater than our revenues increase.
Thank you.
I thought Halloween was scary enough.
No. And also encourage anybody from the public to come testify on that day. Is it the 21st? I didn't. 21st?
Yes, November 21st, and we'd be happy to take written comments or phone calls or
Email.
any email, any form of input.
All righty. Is there a motion for the public hearing on revenue?
I move to set a public hearing for Tuesday, November 21, 2017 at 3 p.m. or as soon thereafter at the Thurston County Courthouse Building 1 in room 280 to receive public comments on the proposed revenue sources to support fiscal year 2018 of the 2017-2018 biennium budget.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded and stated. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, and that motion carries. Thank you,
Thank you.
Robin. So the next item we have on the agenda is 5B, where county commissioners can report back to the public as far as some of the work sessions or committees or assignments or any kind of updates, and just ask either one of my seatmates if they have anything they would like to talk about.
No.
No.
He said
I
no.
do. I have to look at the clock. Attended the JBLM Day of Service welcoming, and I don't know if there was 60 or so, 100?
100, I'll bet you, yeah.
100 veterans came down from JBLM to go to work in our communities, South County and all throughout the county, painting, refurbishing, moving, all kinds of stuff for an entire day of volunteering, and that was exceptionally cool. And I attended as a judge. I was actually a judge for the prosecuting attorney's chili cook-off, and there were 12 participants or 12 entrants, and that was a great day. And then that evening, if that wasn't enough, was the Food Summit at South Puget Sound Community College, and I attended the Food Summit. Exceptionally unique artisans when it comes to food and beverage. And on Monday, the 23rd of October, TCM came out and did an entire day of taping with me and my staff, and we hit Juvenile Hall, the Seeds of Change, their garden, and talked with Robert Coit at the Food Bank, and Salvation Army, and YWCA, and that'll be coming to Thurston County Media, or Community Media, starting sometime about the second or third week of November. It'll start airing on Channel 3. Let's see what else I did. Thurston County Farm Bureau Annual Meeting Banquet. That was very interesting. And then this last Saturday was the United States Future Army Soldiers Activation Ceremony down in Yelm. And it was a great graduation. It's a subsection. The USFAS is a subsection or a subcomponent of the Boy Scouts of America. And these are training future leaders, not only for our community, but for our service, for our veteran service. And then the USLF, the United States Liaison Federation, had their national annual banquet in the Northeast Olympia. And not only did I get to attend and see some pretty cool events, but their banquet on Saturday evening, I got voluntold to be the auctioneer. And so that was fun. And that raised a ton of money, not only for the local USLF, but also for the United States Liaison Rescue Organization. And I'm tired of hearing enough about Endangered Species Act regarding small animals. The liaisoners, there are only 3,000 liaisons left in the world, about 800 in the United States of America. And this was a great chance to see about a dozen liaison horses perform and do all kinds of really cool stuff in Olympia. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Oh, wait. But join me on Facebook. Hit John Hutchings, Thurston County, and like my page. And I'm going to post some of the pictures from the liaison thing later on, hopefully today or tomorrow.
That's good. I like that. I'd just like to expand on John's comments about the scouting program that is sponsored by the Boy Scouts of America, but it is also open to young women to participate in this program. And I believe the age was
13 to 21.
13 to 21. Pretty valuable program to develop character in our young people. So if anybody out there has kids or interested parties that might want to participate, or they'd like to have volunteers in certain areas. So great program. Just kind of remember, kids are 30% of our population, but 100% of our future. So we better get it right. This is just one little piece of that puzzle. That's it.
Okay, great.
I'm done.
Okay, good. So I would just like to comment that I know it's October 31st and it's Halloween, and that's absolutely great, but October still remains, and it should remain throughout the rest of the year, the awareness of domestic violence and how that is a continuous problem that plagues our communities here in Thurston County and throughout the nation. And also it's the awareness of breast cancer, especially from American Breast Cancer Society, that put on a great effort this October. And they also continue throughout the year to help fight, recover women and some men who have breast cancer. So my hat goes off to those who put a lot of time and effort into these two programs for October. So with that in mind, I'll ask if there's any update from the county manager.
Yes, your agenda for the upcoming week. In a minute or two, you will hold a public hearing regarding the Holiday Valley Water Association for a non-exclusive franchise. Then tomorrow, Wednesday, we'll begin at 7 a.m. at the Family Support Center annual fall breakfast. And that will be held at the Hotel RL. At 9 o'clock tomorrow, you'll hold a work session for the review of low impact development code update and the hard surface policies. At 9:30, you have a work session on park property evaluation and acquisition processes. At 10 o'clock, you have the Thurston Climate Adoption Plan Risk Assessment Work Session. And at 10:15 or 11:15, you'll be at new employee orientation in the HR training room in Building 4. And at 2 o'clock tomorrow, you'll follow up on the preliminary development code docket briefing. So it's a full day tomorrow. On Thursday at 9:30, you have a work session on leave accrual and the American Disabilities Act. At 10 o'clock is Commissioners check-in, and at 1:30, proposed Information Technology Department reorganization work session. On Friday at 10 a.m., you'll be at the Senior Services for South Sound at a town hall meeting at the Olympia Senior Center. And at 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon is the Thurston Mason Behavioral Health Organization 2018 budget discussion here in room 280. And then just as a closing reminder, there is no board meeting next Tuesday, November 7th.
Very good. Any questions, Robin?
No, I don't. Thank you.
No? All righty. With that in mind, is there a motion to adjourn this BoCC and just stand fast? We're going to transition right into the public hearing.
I move to adjourn the BoCC meeting of October 31st, 2017.
Second.
It's been moved and second to adjourn. We are adjourned. So just take about 10 seconds in place, and we're going to get ready for the public hearing.
You all can stay for the public hearing, you know.
Good afternoon. This is the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners. I'm Commissioner Bud Blake, the chair of the year this year. I'd like to start off by doing introductions. Today we're going to have public hearings, and I have Mr. Gary Edwards, Commissioner Gary Edwards with me, and I have Commissioner John Hutchings. I also have the Clerk of the Board, Labadina Bomar, and to her right we have the Assistant County Manager, Robin Campbell, and to her right we have the Deputy Prosecuting Attorney, Elizabeth Petrich. Today we're here to hear a public hearing and take testimony on the Holiday Valley Water Association, who has applied for a non-exclusive 10-year franchise to construct, operate, and maintain a water distribution system within Thurston County rights of way, known also as the Holiday Valley Court Northwest, Holiday Valley Court Northwest, Forest Park Drive Northwest, and Forest Park Court. So in that mind, I'm going to ask the staff, Mr. Craig Sissons, to give us some background on it, and then I'll open it up to the public and take any testimony.
Right.
Sir.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Craig Sisson. I'm the senior I'm the real estate services manager for Public Works. I can't remember my fancy official title. The Holiday Valley Water Association has applied for a non-exclusive 10-year franchise to construct, operate, and maintain a water distribution system within Thurston County rights-of-way, known as Holiday Valley Court Northwest, Holiday Valley Drive Northwest, Forest Park Drive Northwest, Forest Park Court Northwest, Forest Park Street Northwest, and 42nd Avenue Northwest in the plat of Holiday Valley Estates located in Section 34, Township 19 North, Range 3 West. The system was constructed in 1969 and maintained by lot owners until the formation of the Holiday Valley Water Association in November of 2004. RCW 3655040 requires that a public hearing be held on franchise applications. In accordance with said RCW, notice was published twice in the official county newspaper and posted in 3 public places in the county seat. A public hearing was held on October 10, 2017, with no testimony given and adjourned with no additional action taken. If, after today's hearing, the board deems it to be in the public interest to accept the application, the board may grant the franchise whole or in part and enter a resolution to that effect. The non-exclusive franchise process for a water system is consistent with the county's strategic plan and meets the external goal of environmental and sustainable resources, preserve and enhance our physical environment and natural resources. As of today, we have received no public comment, either written or email format.
All right, any questions for Mr. Sissons?
No, I think we're good to go.
Yep, no comments, then I'm done.
Okay, sure. With that in mind, you have any comments or, no? Okay, I'll open it up to the public, and, is there a sign-in sheet that people sign? No? Okay, with that in mind, I'll just ask the public in general if they raise their hand if you'd like to come to the board and wish to address the board on this matter. All right, seeing none, okay, we'll go to the next step, which is to ask the commissioners if they have any final comments or what would be the pleasure of the board.
I'm good to go.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Chair, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
It's been moved and second to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, and that motion carries. And what would be the pleasure of the board as far as adopting?
I move to accept the application of the Holiday Valley Water Association for a non-exclusive franchise to construct, operate, and maintain a water distribution system within designated Thurston County rights-of-way for a period of 10 years.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded as stated. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries. And finally, is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. We are adjourned.